Thank God for Judicial Watch. They are suing the Capitol Police on behalf of the estate of Ashli Babbitt. And we know this from Judicial Watch. The federal government launched a posthumous investigation into criminal charges they might file against Ashli Babbitt. That sounds totally weird. Tom Fitton is the Judicial Watch president and has been spearheading the lawsuit. Thank you for that, Tom. Welcome back. Can you tell us a little bit overall first, the status of the lawsuit? How are things going?
Well, we filed it earlier this year, January 5th, and it's a $30 million wrongful death action. Our lawyers are representing Ashli's estate, her husband, Aaron, who was widowed by this senseless killing. And it was filed out there in San Diego, California. And the government's number one response was to desperately move the case out of Southern California here in Washington, D.C., where obviously they expect to have friendlier judges biased against Ashli and anyone else associated with January 6th. So it's really quite an apparent, abuse to try to rig the case, in my view, by moving it to a friendly jurisdiction, an anti-Trump jurisdiction. I mean, one of the judges we highlighted, our lawyers highlighted in the briefs, were making comments about Ashli and what she did wrong that day, trying to justify seemingly her killing.
Well, that is pretty insane. And these judges, we know that a lot of them are so unprofessional. Wow. All right. What about this posthumous investigation of her and charging her with crimes after the fact? That can't be right. What's going on there?
We sued the FBI for documents about Ashli. We have 2 lawsuits pending. We just got a batch of documents showing they had been investigating her for months after she was killed, investigating criminal allegations. But don't worry, Greg, they decided that she didn't need to be on the terrorist watch list or database because she was dead. But they were still harassing her friends, her family, who knows who else. In my view, why on earth would they be doing this? To try to justify her killing. I can't think of any other legitimate reason. And so it's just a further indication that our law enforcement agencies at the federal level, it was all hands on deck to try to go after anyone associated with January 6th, including someone needlessly killed. And at the same time, or almost concurrently, Lieutenant Byrd, his name was being kept private. Later in the year, he was allowed to stay at Andrews Air Force Base or Joint Base Andrews for 6 months in a VIP suite, usually reserved for generals. No other police, I mean, you've tracked these issues. Every viewer should remember how police involved in shootings are treated. Lieutenant Byrd got special treatment. He was never seriously investigated. And this is why this lawsuit's important, to get some measure of justice for Ashli, because the left narrative on January 6th would be blown up if the truth comes out fully about what happened to Ashli, that the only homicide victim, unlawfully killed person, illicitly killed person, some people who were at the scene said to the cop who shot her, "You murdered her." That changes the January 6th story a bit, doesn't it?
It sure does. And the evidence that you've uncovered so far, and this is a shocker, and a lot of people still don't know this exists, but I believe this is Lieutenant Byrd phoning in the shooting. Actually, he's calling in and complaining about shots that were fired, but the only shot I think that had been fired at that point was his shot. Listen to this, please. 05.
05B, we got shots fired in the lobby. We got 5 shots fired in the lobby of the House chamber. Shots are being fired at us, and we're prepared to fire back at them. We have guns drawn. Don't make sure we leave that in. Don't leave that in.
All right, sounds like he's covering for himself during that radio transmission. This is after he already shot Ashli Babbitt. He's not acknowledging that shots have been fired by police. He's saying that shots have been fired at him. This is the first stage of a cover-up right there?
Well, how else? What other conclusion could you come to? There were no shots fired other than the single shot he fired at Ashli Babbitt. And yet he's on the radio immediately thereafter, according to the evidence we have, saying shots have been fired at them.
It's wild.
I tell you, the Republicans need to get on this. Who's running the House? Running the House now? Only now are they starting to question January 6 narratives. It's 2 years too late as far as I'm concerned. They should retract the January 6th report, really raise questions about how the police are protecting the Capitol. Why has Lieutenant Byrd not been subject to any discipline or administrative proceedings?
It's amazing. They're very weird, the Republicans on this. As you know, House Republicans, they are very, very kind of iffy about it all and a little bit worried. I don't understand why. Hey, let me just ask you this. What's going on with federal law enforcement? Have they always been this crummy, or is this a recent thing that they would be taking their cues from Democrats, from some political force? You know, I mean, they are political henchmen now. Have they always been like this, and I just didn't know it?
I mean, the FBI has been rotting for a long time, and I think it's accelerated and metastasized in recent years. You have a careerism taking precedence over following the rules in the FBI, and in many ways, it's worse than an old boys network because it's not even just limited by office or by leadership roles. The whole agency is kind of out of control, and that's why agents get out as quickly as they can.
The lawsuit is amazing. Folks should read the entire thing, and you'll have a really good idea, better idea of what happened. And judicialwatch.org. Very quickly, if you don't mind, what's the next big thing to happen in this case? You're waiting on a ruling about location?
Yeah, the court's going to rule on the venue, and it'd be interesting to hear how the Biden Justice Department defends the shooting of Ashli Babbitt and whether or not Congress is going to be in on this defense of her needless killing.
Tom Fitton, thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing. Judicial Watch, you guys are great. We'll be right back.